Hi, I'm doing the mid-year book Freakout tag. I've seen a lot of booktubers do this. I want to jump in on the trend. My channel has gone through a lot of changes and I've been uploading a lot more random stuff as of late, but I'm still reading and I find that this year is a lot better for me reading-wise than 2020, by far. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna do this tag and just let you know how my reading year has been going. So number one, the best book that I've read in 2021 so far, without a shadow of a doubt, is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This was everything that I wanted in a young adult novel. It's probably the first young adult novel I've read in a really long time where I am actually super excited for the sequel. I cannot wait. I would never have thought that a young adult novel that is using King Arthur mythology and lore as a plot point would catch my interest, but this book was just marvelously done. It is really strong for a debut. 10 out of 10, 5 stars, by far my favorite read. I don't know what you're doing if you haven't read this yet. It is the sequel that I've read in 2020. It's kind of a harder question to answer for number 2, but I'm going to use the Brown Sister trilogy from Talia Hibbert. So Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and the latest release, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, are probably some of my favorite sequels, especially Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. Really strong, really happy-go-lucky romantic comedies. They make you feel really good. Talia Hibbert has amazing dialogue, amazing voice. You fall in love with all 3 sisters. I really loved them. I enjoyed them. Act Your Age, Brown was just the perfect way to conclude the trilogy. I think Talia Hibbert is really someone that you should watch in the next upcoming years. She is by far one of my favorite authors, and I think she's doing a lot of amazing things in the genre of romantic comedies and romance in general. I think she's gonna go on to do really amazing things. So I love her. This book especially, perfect. Definitely one of the new releases that I haven't read yet that I really want to get into for number 3 is Ace of Spades. There's been a lot of talk about this in the book blogging world. I mentioned it maybe a week ago or so on my channel. Haven't really read it yet, but I definitely want to get into it. It has some crazy comps. It's been compared to Gossip Girl, Pretty Little Liars, and the movie Get Out, which is incredible. So I'm really wanting to get into this one. For my most anticipated read in the second half of the year, for I think number 4 on this tag, is definitely Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World. So this is the follow-up to the iconic, quite frankly, the iconic Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Probably one of my all-time favorite books, period. It is absolutely gorgeous literature. It was really well done, and it was released so long ago. I think the publication date was like 2012, and it still resonates with me to this date. It is just a really incredibly well done book, and I am genuinely super excited to see what happens with Ari and Dante in the second book. So I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but that is definitely my most anticipated read. And then other than that, The Heart Principle, I think, which is a follow-up to The Bride Test. And that one is also one of my favorite. Let me see if I have a picture. Yep, so that is The Heart Principle. It's book number 3 in the Kiss Quotient trilogy. As far as the biggest disappointment of 2021 so far, this one might change in the next upcoming weeks or so. I'll fully admit that I haven't finished reading this yet, but I think it's One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. My light is really fleshing this out, so you can't really see it that well, but if you're part of the book blogging world, you probably know Casey McQuiston really well. They had a really huge hit, which was Red, White, and Royal Blue. That book I had mixed feelings about, but I did like some parts of Casey's writing style, and I was interested in One Last Stop, mainly because it was pitched as a sapphic romance that also had a magical element. 2 things that I'm totally here for. But I've been reading it, I'm probably at the 36% mark, and at first I actually was really enjoying it, but then somewhere along the way it kind of just fizzled out for me. And I've just been having a harder time wanting to pick it back up, which is really disappointing because this was really one of my top most anticipated reads. And I think a lot of people love this one just as much, if not more, than Red, White, and Royal Blue, and that one was a massive hit. Definitely the biggest surprise of 2021 for me is People That We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I have to say that I've heard a lot of hype about Emily Henry, especially with Beach Read, and People We Meet on Vacation actually has been trending on Book Talk, you know, book bloggers on TikTok, and I really didn't think I was going to be into it. It's a second chance romance, friends to lovers romance, and those are two tropes that I typically don't resonate with, but this one really hits different. This is fire. I honestly am huge admiration in Emily. She writes yearning and tension, unresolved tension so incredibly well. Poppy and Alex are one of my all-time favorite romantic comedy duos that I've read in recent memory. It is just an amazing story. It really fleshes out both characters. It's a great character study along with being a great romance. And you really get to know these two people and you get to see the evolution of their relationship through flashback. And there are some amazing one-liners in this book and some really gorgeous quotes that make you believe in soulmates. It's just as good as the hype that has been given. Easily the biggest surprise of 2021 for me so far. Favorite new author of 2021, definitely Tracy Deonn, because Legendborn is that girl. I want fan edits all over the place. I want Legendborn adapted to Netflix or to the big screen. I want there to be fan art, and there's a shocking lack of fan art for Legendborn, let me tell you. I have some suspicions as to why, but I just think Tracy just gets it. I'm so excited for her career. I'm highly anticipating the second release for Legendborn. I cannot wait for Legendborn 2. New Fictional Crush. It should be no surprise to anyone that is a fan of Talia Hibbert and have read Act Your Age Eve Brown, Jacob Wayne. There is a specific part in this book where, you know what, I'm not gonna say it, but if you know, you know, okay? You know. Favorite new character, definitely Bree from Legendborn. I'm gonna be talking about Legendborn a lot. I have a feeling if I end up doing like an end of the year wrap up for the books I've read, Legendborn is gonna be right up there again. I just love Bree. Book that made me cry, this is super easy. Instructions for Dancing by Nicola Yoon. I actually made a video about this recently. I expected this to be a really lighthearted summer romance and it really gutted me. I read this around Father's Day and it just really hit home in a lot of ways, and the ending is super bittersweet. And I'm kind of mad at Nicola Yoon, but I'm also just really impressed by her talent. There hasn't been a Nicola Yoon book that I've read that I've been disappointed by ever. I've loved all of what she has done and I still look forward to her next release, and I just think she's fantastic, but I am pretty angry at her. Books that made me happy this year, definitely anything Talia Hibbert has her name stamped on. So again, Act Your Age Brown. Take a hint, Dani Brown too. Doesn't get as much talk as Act Your Age or Get a Life, Chloe Brown, the first book of the Brown Sisters trilogy, but I actually really love that one. I think the second is like the strongest of the three, which is kind of unpopular. Typically people love this one the most, but I think Act Your Age, Dani Brown was really good as well. The whole entire series will make you feel really good and happy. It's just top tier romance novels, and I love Talia Hibbert's voice. She's just great at what she does. The most beautiful book that I purchased for 2021 is The Ones We're Meant to Find. Joan He did something really spectacular with this book. I don't think this book is going to get its proper due, mainly because the first half of it is really slow and it's bogged down by a lot of technological terms. But the second half is fire. Like, if you predicted the twist that came up in this book, then I am super impressed and I want to shake your hand, because there's no way I was guessing any of the twists in this book. As far as books that I still need to read or that I want to read, I need to read by the end of the year. I think that's the last question of this tag. Reaper of the Gates, Sabaa Tahir. This is the book I wanted to mention, Jade Fire Gold. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this book, but when I say this is the most highly anticipated read, I should have mentioned it earlier, but I just remembered. And this is the one absolutely, I'm gonna drop everything and read it when it comes out. It's being compared to Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that alone, I was sold. And I've seen a lot of good reviews so far from people that I think have gotten arcs. I am not that big of an influencer to get an arc, but if there was an arc that I could get my hands on that I would really want, that I would trade souls for, well, not trade souls, that's a little much. It would be this one. I really want to read this one so much, and the cover looks amazing. It looks incredible, but this is one absolutely highly anticipated read. I want to read it. Absolutely drop everything to read it for sure.